Okay, so could you tell me something about yourself? What is your name and your background?
My name is Winnie Ouma. I'm from Kenya originally, living here in Lawrenceville, Virginia.
Okay, and can you explain to me what for for some people who might not know much about Kenya, can you say something about Kenya and what it means to be Kenyan?
Mm, Kenya is a small country in the east coast of Africa with a population of about 50 million people. And Kenya is quite diverse. Apart from the natives, there are people from all over the world. The Italians and French at the coastal town of Mombasa, and the Indians too. And the climate in Kenya is varies from one region to another. We have two sets of islands, the Western Highlands and the Eastern Highlands, which are separated by the Rift Valley, which runs all the way from northern part of Africa, crossing down into almost South Africa. And the areas, the highland areas are pretty cool and with frequent rainfalls. And Kenya is pretty much agricultural country where they grow tea and coffee
Mm-hmm.
for exports and local consumptions.
Mm-hmm.
They do grow pyrethrum too. In Kenya, there is a high mountain called Mount Kenya, which I think it is 17,000 feet in height. And the tallest mountain in Africa is in Mount Kilimanjaro, followed by Mount Kenya. At the slopes of Mount Kenya is Aberdare Forest, which is infiltrated with wild animals. Kenya pretty much is known for wild animals, and there are very many different wild animals. The lion, cheetah, giraffe, buffaloes, warthogs, wildebeest, and many people travel from the west going to see the migration of wildebeests. And we have a freshwater lake in Kenya, which is second freshwater lake in the world, which is called Lake Victoria, with the varieties of freshwater fishes. And Kenya has got many different tribes, of which I am a Luo, Luo. We live around the lake.
What are some of the customs of the Luo?
I think our cultures are almost distinct now, but we still, it's just like any other place where marriages have got cultural side of it and the church side of it, where the groom still goes and pays a token of thanks to the bride's family. And it is a big occasion when your daughter is getting married. They have to come and visit first before the set date for marriage. So when you get to know each other, the groom has to pay something as a symbol of token of thanks.
Like a dowry?
Yeah, dowry was before, but not much practiced now because the inflation and economy has made most of the financial acquirements impossible. So whatever somebody can pay monetarily as a token of thanks. Yeah. And main thing, the eating habits, Kenya, they intermarry, one tribe to another. But the cuisines, the cuisines are different from one region to another.
Okay, is that based on the tribes?
Yes. And so vegetables, main food in Kenya is like around the Lake Victoria is fish. We eat a lot of beef, beef and chicken, but fish for Luos. And we also eat beans and corn, and we eat cooked bananas. There is a species, bananas also are in species. There is a type that is for cooking. It's called matoke. And then there are types that are left to ripen. And then there are some little ones that are almost candy-like, very sweet. It's called sweet banana.
Oh.
And Kenya, being a tropical country, has got plenty of fruits.
And let me see. What about the people who are? This is just one question I have, because I've run some races. The Kenyans who are runners, where are they coming from, and are they coming from the highlands?
Yeah, they are coming from the highlands, and those are called Kalenjins. Under one umbrella as the Nilots, they are Bantus and Nilots, and the Kushites. So Kalenjins, Luos, Maasais, we fall under one umbrellas.
Okay.
And under one umbrella called the Nilots, Nilotics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and then those people, because they grow up in the highlands, they have bigger lungs probably. They're used to running up there. So
I don't
do
think
they have a tradition of running or something? Why are they so good at running?
I don't think it is big. I don't think that it is because they have bigger lungs. I think they are lean, and they can endure, and they pretty don't eat much. They don't eat a lot of food compared to us.
Oh, okay.
So they stay lean.
Yes, I've noticed a lot of those runners are extremely skinny.
Yeah.
And not very tall or big.
They are lean.
Yeah.
And they live pretty much on meat, blood, and milk.
So can you talk a little about Kenya's history? What was, I know this is way before your time, but like the pre-colonial time that was in the past before the Europeans came, and then the colonial time and the post-colonial period, like now. What
I heard, or what I've read, is that when the British came, I don't know, I can't remember the year they came to Kenya, but many of them, that was the rush for scramble for Africa, where the British, the Germans, the Belgians, the French were scampering to get a hold of Africa because of the raw minerals. And so the British ended up coming to Kenya, Uganda, and many other African countries. And they captured those African men that they deemed were tall, strong, to help them fight, to capture other nations of Africa. And one of my uncles fought for the British.
Oh, so even like also in World War I later, World War I and World War II as well. Mm-hmm.
And so I hear it was, and it is in the history books in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very bitter experience because they worked for nothing but ratios of flour, tea, which was their own. They were given in they ration everything, and sugar. But then these people worked from dawn to dusk, farming, because by then it was before industrialization. Digital just came recently. And so most of our people, it was a way of enslaving them in their own countries.
Right.
Yeah, so their job was to dig for the white man. Yeah, they worked.
Dig trenches or something in World War I.
Digging
and World War
trenches,
II.
leave alone that, people survived by agriculture.
Yeah.
And so whatever crops they grew, some were sent to Britain. And they made money out of that. Because when they were sent, they were bought. So things like tea, coffee, cotton, name it.
So, but Kenya didn't have any role in the slave trade, right? It was mostly like West African countries.
They had a minimal role.
Oh, minimal role? Okay.
Yes. If you go to Mombasa, the coastal town, the Omani Arabs, when you see Saudi Arabia, then you see Kuwait and all that, Iraq. So there is another place called Oman, which has got its own kingdom. So the Omani Arabs were used by the white men. They came to get slaves from the coast. Or slaves got them from inland and then ferry to the coast, and then they would transport them out. So there was a fort that was built by the Kenyans called Fort Jesus. It's still there. It's a tourist resort now. So they built that, and so people could hide under. And if you look at it, it's facing the water. It is at the ocean. And so they could see the ships coming, and then they would fire. And everything that was built there is still intact.
Okay. And what would you say are some aspects of Kenyan? I mean, you talked about Luo, and but what about Kenyan nationality? Is there something in common that Kenyan people share aside from their diverse tribal affiliations?
Yeah, the unifying factor in Kenya is a language which is taught at school, and everybody speaks it, and that is the national language, which is Swahili. Now, Swahili is a mixture of Bantu language and Arabic language.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yes. So there are some words when Arabs speak, we understand what they are talking about. So that is where Swahili is derived from, the Bantu and the Arabic languages. So anybody in Kenya, be it a person who is selling vegetables in the market, be it who, when you meet them, you wouldn't know which tribe they belong to, because everybody is speaking Swahili.
Oh, okay. And so Swahili is like a common tongue that everybody
It's a national language.
National language. And what about English? What about the status?
English is a medium of instruction at school and in workplaces. And all other departments of services, things are conducted in English, because everything they learn at school is taught in English, be it physics, chemistry. So when you go to do medicine, everything is.
And so what is the relationship now between like since Kenya is a former colony of Britain, like what is the relationship now, and how did Kenya obtain its independence? It was in the 20th century,
No.
right? Like late.
Yeah, in
late-
in the in
late
the in the
20th
early
century.
50s.
Yeah.
When they fought, but the
Mhm.
independence came in 63.
Mhm.
Yeah. Actually, the Kenyans had to rebel and start a war called Mau Mau,
Mm-hmm.
and so they fought the British,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole world got involved, just like any other wars today. If people want their own self-government,
Mm-hmm.
and so the Kenyans fought the British
Mm-hmm.
to the extent of achieving their own independence in 1963.
Mm-hmm.
And the British didn't want to leave Kenya because they had gotten, they didn't buy the land. They snatched the land from the locals for agriculture.
Because Britain doesn't have that much agriculture because it's kind of colder, as a colder islands. Right?
Most of the Western countries, it reaches a point in a year where they cannot grow anything.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they had to do, what do they call this type of farming where you have the greenhouse?
Greenhouse, right?
They can't. So most of the children whose parents acquired land in Kenya, some of them have ended up coming back to Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are now, what they used to practice is what they still practice is farming, livestock farming, pyrethrum farming. You know what pyrethrum is?
No, I don't. You mentioned that earlier, and I didn't.
Pyrethrum is a crop that is used to manufacture insecticides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like a shrub, a little shrub in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
And so they grow a lot of pyrethrum at the foothills of Mount Kenya. It needs cool weather.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they manufacture insecticides from pyrethrum.
Oh, okay.
And the British, who are still livestock farmers, they have different dairy cows, beef cows, things like that.
Have they integrated into Kenyan society?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how has Kenya changed from like globalization? And you talked to me before about Kenya, kind of the economy growing a lot, and what is going on? What kind of changes are happening? In Kenya?
It grew, but every leadership has its good side and bad side. So right now we are just in a transition. I don't know whether the current president is the 6th or the 5th. Ruto I think he's the 6th president of Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And since independence. But Kenya, infrastructure of Kenya has improved a lot. And we have good roads, rural electrification, and we are trying to have water get into many places. And many Westerners, they choose Kenya over some other African countries. South African is better than us, but they choose Kenya because of all those, amenities, water, electricity, good internet, and roads, flight. We have got flights that go to different parts of Kenya, Mombasa, Western Kenya, things like that.
And so why did you, this goes back to your life, why did you immigrate to the United States? And in your mind, like when you were thinking about the United States, like when you came here, was it like you imagined, or was it different than you imagined?
You know, sometimes when you are still young, you become imaginative. So you sit and say, oh, by then Kenya was not as developed as it is now. So you say, I came to visit, and I went back. But then in my mind, I saw something that I really wanted. Then I came the second time, and I liked it, because I traveled. The first time also I traveled. When I came, I traveled. When the second time I came and traveled. Then I said, connecting is so easy, you know. That is what attracted me, and then, you know, finding job was not difficult. And
so did you really feel like you were leaving your country, or did you feel like you were just assimilating into a kind of global village? Like
assimilation is what I would say, not leaving my country, because since I was a child, I've been adventurous, and even coming to America when I was still young, I loved seeing. I love to go. If I tell you today, I probably have been to many states than you here in America.
Probably, yeah. And so, what are some of the main differences between America and Kenya, and like American culture and Kenyan culture? I know this is kind of a generalization, but like, with some big differences.
No, the only thing that I would say is different is in Kenya we eat fresh food. Most of the things here are frozen. And so much pesticides are used on food. But unlike in Kenya.
So things are more natural.
But
do you think it's changing now in Kenya? Is Kenya becoming more Americanized?
It has not changed much. It has not changed much. Probably the change is gradually, slowly. Yeah, but I was in Kenya last year.
And so, what do you think? How has Kenya changed since when you were young? Like over
there are so many things that have changed, but those are political, because freedom of speech. Freedom of socialization, you know, many things, freedom of expression, such things have changed. But then on the other hand, we used to have free healthcare. Now that one also changed. It's no longer free. Now you have to pay for it.
It's become more Americanized in that sense.
Yes, and so education, it was subsidized, but not anymore. Right now, like this year, the university students, I don't know whether children of the poor will ever go to college.
Oh, that's sad.
So, but other than that, what I love is that you eat what is natural. Be it beef, be it chicken. Yeah.
Do you think like Kenyan culture is like, I mean, I guess this is more like traditional culture, but was it a lot of places were like an oral culture as well? Was that true? Like stories being passed down from family to family? Like,
and that's how I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
I'm thinking of like Ngugi's books and things like that. There are a lot of proverbs
but
and
things. That is oral, yeah, in a written form.
Oral in a written form. That's true.
Yeah, but there is that family tree that you learn from the grandfather, grandmother, to the father, to the mother, and you know all these are assimilated. You know, you get together and all that. There is still that value of grandma, grandfather. But if you ask me even today, I could tell you my grandfather from mother's side was a son of so and so, son of so and so, and son of so and so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we sat together, and they would tell you, this is what happened, this is how we do it, this is what is.
So do you think that there's a more of a communal side in Kenyan culture than American
Yes,
culture is so
yes.
individualistic?
Here, you don't even know your next door neighbor. I just like my door neighbor here. I say hi. They are good people. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never stepped a foot there.
Mm-hmm. And that would be unthinkable in Kenya, do you think?
You know your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
You get to know them well
Mm-hmm.
in the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
And but right now things are changing. You know, the globalization, like
It's changing everywhere, right?
it's changing. There never used to be guns in Kenya, but I hear now guns are there.
Oh, okay. And so do you feel like, what about like nationalism? Does that exist a lot in Kenya? And then do certain groups like try to be the dominant one over the other group? Or do they have that kind of thing like you would have sometimes in the United States even, which is not always good, like where you have nationalism and one group is trying to...
Yeah, that is there.
That exists too. It is... I think that exists everywhere, kind of almost.
Yeah, that is
world.
there everywhere because I read a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I see that in every society.
Almost,
I've
yeah.
not been to Turkey, but I see it in Turkey.
Yeah, I think it exists.
I'm here in America,
China.
I see it here.
Yeah.
I read about China, I see it there.
Yes. Yeah.
I read about North Korea, I see it there.
Right. Right.
So that is everywhere in the world.
So how do you think it has changed you? Coming here to America and having like more than one cultural background, because obviously you assimilated to American culture in a lot of ways. Do you think that gives you a different perspective of the world?
I respect every individual's culture,
Mm-hmm.
but I know mine.
Mm-hmm.
I go by mine, but I respect every individual.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, who am I to denounce anybody's culture?
That's true.
And who says mine is the best?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that is what they grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I grew up with.
Right.
So we meet in the middle.
Right, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Can you say anything about, let's say, your experiences here in American culture? Did you have some difficulties adapting at the beginning, or any stories? Are there any stories?
In America, before you live here for long, more so in the South, it overwhelms one when you come from, I come from a society in Kenya where there is no much segregation like here. And here, you find even the graveyards are separated.
Yeah, I really agree with you on that
Yeah.
one. Like it's
See, this is for the whites, this is for the blacks. And
they seem to do it with almost every ethnicity too. They just want
Yeah.
everybody to
and
be
even
separated.
churches,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you find this is dominantly whites, and when somebody else goes there, who is the person?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I never grew up that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where even the churches, if a white man came in, he will just be welcomed. Hello, we welcome you. Thanks for coming to worship with us.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And you can choose to be buried anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will ever. And I think that is the best thing in Kenya.
Mm.
You know, they won't segregate that you are an Indian or you are a white person.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So, and here,
Why do you think? I mean, of course, America has that legacy of all of that segregation, but it also is a diverse country. Why do you think that kind of phenomenon is going on in America while the world is globalizing? And do you
I think that is because of slavery, they teach their children that I think there's a superiority complex. Yeah, I think people have just refused. Remember time. Yeah, people have just refused to accept that we are all human beings. So, because look, I'm old now, but the youth, the young people, they still believe that they are superior. And they go to same schools. And they believe that opportunities should belong to them. So you wonder, you wonder what type of education. But I'm not saying I should not paint all this with a broad brush. I think the problem is with the older folks. I should not blame the youth because they are taught these things from
the older generation.
Yes.
But don't you think it's kind of disappointing that people expected American society to be more progressive out of all of the cultures?
Yeah, it's a shame.
And it seems like America has kind of gone a few steps backwards.
It is a shame that this is happening, and you know, whereas America goes to every country all over the world, more so in Africa, preaching democracy and telling people, don't do this, this is not done, this is not done, do this way.
But it's not happening
in
here.
Their own backyard. A different story.
Exactly. So, what do you think is the future of like global society? Because we have so many different people, and we're all kind of living together in this world, right?
I think within, let me say, I think 30 years from now, if I don't say at most 50, it will all dissipate. People will become one. Yeah.
Oh, so that's good then. They will recognize their common humanity.
Yeah, because the youth, the old folks are older than me. People who are in their 70s, 80s, 90s will have been gone. And then the younger generation will be outnumbered. The ones who have been taught all these negativities. And so America will be a diverse platform.
A diverse platform. But people will maybe be able to remake their own identity,
No, I think America will operate as one.
As one? Okay. So
I don't think, because already... I remember when I migrated, when I came from Richmond to Lawrenceville. A black woman would not marry a white man.
Oh, at that time frame?
Yeah, I was told. So, but things have changed. You go to Southdale, you go to Emporia, I see.
Right.
Yeah, young people mixing.
Right.
So would you say, if your son married a black woman, and you have a graveyard set for your son, how about his wife? Would you set a grave for his wife too? Because that is his wife.
Right.
And those are your grandchildren.
Right.
I think America is going to forget about all those nonsense.
It does seem like a lot of it is just all a bunch of nonsense and causing so much division among people. And if people could see their oneness, that would be a really great thing. Do you feel like you experience are there difficulties sometimes going back to Kenya? And when you go back to Kenya and you've been here, then do you ever feel culture shock, for example?
No. Because I came here as an adult. And I know the language. Maybe I could have felt that if I had language barrier.
Oh,
And
yeah, because you know the language. Yeah.
not the language, and I know the culture.
The culture, yeah.
And I know the foods.
But do you ever feel like the people have changed since when you were growing up there in Kenya?
No, because
No.
I was just there last year.
So you go often? Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
So the same foods that my mother used to cook, that my grandmother used to cook, I know them. And I just go to the market and buy.
Okay.
I go myself. I don't send anybody.
Right. So you feel kind of comfortable within
yes,
the bicultural
because,
setting.
we communicate. We sit, we communicate. Yeah.
So do you know some people who are Kenyan American who don't go back often to Kenya or within the Kenyan community, or do they normally go back?
I don't say, I can't say that I know some, because the ones that I know go back.
Go back, okay. And what else would you like to add? Do you have some other points that you would like to bring up, or some issues, let's say about life in Kenya or life here in the United States, or?
No, those ones I don't think so. I think time, time makes changes. So I'm just an individual from hundreds of millions.
Right, of course.
So, what dictates change is time.
Time, that's right.
Yeah.
And as people intermix around the world,
yes,
then there's going to be more of a global culture.
Yeah.
But do you think people will still, I have a question about that, do you think like people will still preserve some of the cultural traditions? Because it would be a shame
They will intermarry.
Right.
Yeah.
Would something hybrid be created, like in between the different cultures, or?
No, I think the cultures are going to intermarry because everybody wants part of another person's culture. So they will intermarry. And they are already intermarrying.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't mean marriage.
Right.
I mean the culture. You want to do, I want that type of dress.
So what you're saying,
to do like this.
Yeah. So all of the different cultures will become part of that global culture. Is that true?
Yeah, that's
okay,
what I mean, cultural.
But not in a sense that's kind of negative.
No.
Not in a sense of like your cultural particularity just disappears, but it'll all become part of the global culture.
Yes. It will be cohesive. I mean,
more cohesive.
Yeah.
What about the differences between like urban life and versus living in the countryside? Because you brought some of that up about the United States. Could you talk about that in the United States and in Kenya?
No,
those differences between the countryside,
the modernization and the countryside. I think that is individual too. That one, I wouldn't say that it is bad. People should just learn to adjust. Because even here...
Well, what are some of the differences?
Yeah, like if you go where there's no electrification, you should just learn to adjust. Because even in the past, that's how people lived. And be comfortable the way it is. You can use whatever. Like now, there's so much solar gadgets which you can use to supplement electricity.
Is it becoming too expensive in Kenya to live in the big cities like Nairobi and Mombasa? So people are moving out of there and going to the countryside? Or does that not exist in Kenya? Do people still...
It does, but jobs with Kenya, still most jobs are in bigger cities. But those that want to do business, they are moving out and coming to small towns.
Oh, so they are because it's less expensive, maybe?
It is less expensive. You live in your own house that you have built, but there is electricity. Most Kenyans cook using gas, not electricity. So I hope you understand, people buy gas. Even here,
right.
I know Mabel uses gas for cooking.
Right. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so...
that's kind of like China is like that too, yeah.
Right. And so... they have a laundry system in Kenya, not public laundry, but just you can have one in your house, depending if you can afford. and the same to here.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people, because we are a tropical country, you can still, I know how to do hand washing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can do. But this business, like, I can't do that. That is what baffles me with the young generation. People have become so fickle, complaining about little things. I can't do this, this is like this, I can't do this. Whereas it just needs adjusting. You can even sleep on the floor. All you need is buy a little mattress, put it on the floor, get some cover. And cover
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I agree.
Yeah. So all these little complaints. Yeah.
You don't agree with that, yeah. So do you think that people are getting sometimes a little spoiled with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many people are spoiled.
And what do you think about like? Do you think it's a privilege to be able to go from one culture to the next, to be able to travel to different or
not really a privilege.
Because some people can't afford it. I'm saying, like in some parts of the world, they wouldn't be able to go.
Yes, but it is also it's something to cherish.
Yes.
Because you learn.
Yes, definitely.
And then you accept. Yeah, so
it's a good experience.
Yeah, it is like me learning your wife's culture. Yeah, and I was with the Ghanaians, right? They live on 2nd Avenue. So we talk about culture. And she told me about some things that they cook in their country. Because Africa, people talk about Africa. Africa is a continent.
And it's huge, right? And
it's the biggest continent. It's the second biggest.
I'm not absolutely sure, but it's huge.
USSR is the first, and then Africa.
Right. Well, because Eurasia is really one continent, right? So that's almost, geographically speaking, right?
So Africa has so many countries. So culturally they are different. You find to the north those Muslim cultures, and then South Africa, their cultures, and then West Africa, their cultures.
So is there a common sense of African identity, and what is it? Or does that exist? Pan-African, like I know there's an African Union.
Yeah, there is, but when you talk about culture, then it varies from one country to another.
Very, right? Even Kenya itself, right, was before it was different. It was different countries, right? Because of the different tribes.
No, Kenya is just one country, but
yeah, no, I'm saying before the creation of the nation state of Kenya.
But they had regions.
There were different regions,
yeah,
right? And different tribes, and those tribes were pretty different.
And all these names have been named to they are names reflecting something in that region. Because like Kenya, Mount Kenya.
And so if there's a Pan-African identity, what would it be? I mean, a sense of being African. Is there something to mention about that?
I think it would be more than one.
It would be more than one because there's so much diversity within Africa itself.
And so much resources that makes Africa great.
All the natural resources within Africa. Yeah.
God, sometimes we talk about God, but we forget how when God created all these countries, I think he said these people are not rich. They are not rich. Their riches are not visible. But I'm going to give them some riches that are hidden. And Africa's riches are hidden underground. And then climatically. Because if we were given the climate like here, the weather here, I don't think we would have survived in Africa.
That's a good point. Do you also think like this is anthropologically speaking, but from like the archaeological record, it says that everybody that all
came
of
from Africa.
Yeah. So the idea that Africa is like the cradle of all
Yes,
Human
because in the
civilizations.
past, before population explosion, most of the northern hemisphere was frozen
Right.
and it was inhabitable.
Right.
And so coming down, you know, for a human being to live comfortably. So those were during Stone Age and all, you know, there's ice
Right.
age.
Ice Age
So
was freezing in Europe, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So probably that's the reason why most people lived in Africa, and that is because archaeologically, like you are saying, the fossils of the findings and the bones that have been dug out, the oldest ones,
Are all from Africa.
all from Africa.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, and I think they were even saying in the news that there was a different species than the Homo sapiens that was in Africa way back, and they were already burying the dead, and they were already showing some signs of human
And
civilization.
even writings.
And even writing, yes,
yes,
yeah. And they said that's very it is very fascinating. So,
and even the things that they used, the utensils, because they put the pictures, you know, on the walls,
pictographs, yeah,
on the rocks.
yes, right. And do you feel like that Africa is developing its own independence in the global economy, or do you think that there's still issues within African countries of dependency on other countries that economically...
What I think is political. I think there is political influence from other nations as to how Africa should govern themselves. And this one, the ones to blame are the African leaders themselves.
Okay.
The electorate, the voters choose them to do a good job because they are employed. If we vote, when we vote here, you know, it's like we are employing those who are supposed to lead us. And they should listen to what we are telling them.
Right.
But when you find a senator, a member of parliament, a GOP member or something like that, they don't listen to what the electorate is saying. You know, then that you find that country is not growing properly.
Right.
Because you don't know what people want.
Do you feel that that's a problem here in this country as well?
No, you asked me about Kenya.
Yeah, Kenya, of course.
Yeah. So, I think the people that we elect in Kenya, they elect because I don't vote in Kenya. So the people that they elect in Kenya, I think they don't do their job. They don't do what the people want them to do. They make the country's economy lag behind. The developments are slackened.
So do you feel that the solution...
The GDP is declining. Good healthcare system is declining. So to me, for Kenya to grow, really telling you the truth, I think there should be a revolution as fast as it would be.
Do you think it should be like socialism? Because do you think socialism...
No, okay. I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I don't like socialism, but I think the leaders should listen to what is put in place and how it should be, how disbursement of funds and what funds should do, and rather than making themselves rich.
So a lot of times they're focused on their own wealth. Do you think that this is also a problem within this country as well?
You know, I've never understood what goes on here. I've listened to the news. I don't know whether there are allegations because they say this, say that, say this, say that. At the end of the day, I don't see what comes out of it.
But do you think that there's a vested interest in making news about
I
the
think
people who have a
yeah.
lot of money, and then the poor people or the average.
What I thought is some people are fighting to get into politics to safeguard their riches.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so do you feel like that's an unfortunate
But
thing?
all of it is feud about who should be governing. I think that title of being somebody big in the government.
Yes, why do they always do that in America? Like, the person is always like so important, and it seems like the leader.
Not all of them.
Some, but the leader seems more important than the people that the leader should be serving.
No,
and then the people are looking up to the leader, but then the leader has this big name, and then it ends up being a disappointment because the ordinary people's lives are not always improving.
No, I think what makes it become a disappointment is whether somebody wants to do a good thing. Not all of them, but some. Then it will be disputed. There will be wrangles because
even if you wanted to change something.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I don't do it, you are not going to do it.
Right.
Why should you do it? Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe.
And you need millions to be able to even just become a politician to try to change things. So that makes it very, like it puts a poor person at a disadvantage.
Because I don't know, I don't work there, but just listening from TV. You see, you just hear the wrangles and the proper reason why there is this chaos that he shouldn't do this, he shouldn't do this. You don't see. Like now, the governor for what is it called, Florida.
DeSantis.
Why did he have to
ship the migrants
with small children during the winter?
Right, it's cruel, but it sounds like. If you look on the news, I guess they're trying to say like because there's a disproportionate amount of migrants coming to those states, so they want to put them into other. But I think it's very cruel to send them people
don't
taking advantage of people
that they don't have any fixed abode. They are with children, and it is extremely cold.
Yes, it's very cruel. Do you think that? Because America is kind of creating that kind of strongman politics. Do you think that is also happening in other places in the world? That they want to get a populist leader like that who's kind of pretending to be a strongman, but usually a rich person or somebody taking advantage?
No, I think that will be short-lived.
Okay,
because
good.
people don't like false
things. Yeah, that's true.
That will be short-lived because it is in human nature to empathize with others.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So
you're optimistic about human beings in general, like, and at the end of the day, even though we have a lot of our flaws, we will see things. Do you see like do you see like some of the issues in like in Kenyan culture and the United States? Do you see them in our global society as interconnected, or do you feel like they're not interconnected, that they're just different societies facing different struggles?
No, they are interconnected because they are Kenyans here and they are Americans in Kenya.
That's true, and now they're all influencing each other, right?
Yeah.
In a way that it was different in the past that wouldn't happen, right? Yeah, so now
this thing. Look, Obama was a president here.
Right.
But his father was a typical Luo Kenyan.
Okay, that's very interesting. Can you talk about how did the Luo see that?
No, they were just happy because, in our culture, a child belongs to the father's side.
Okay.
So Obama would be called by the name of the clan where his father came from. So, and that is why he knows, he was educated about it. And that is why he went up to the homestead. When he was dating Michelle, they went up to the father's homestead. But before that, he had gone to see the grave of his father. And he took Michelle there as a girl when they were dating, during their courtship. Before they had children, before they got married. And when he became a president, remember, he went up to the homestead. So I think there is more that connect us than dividing us.
Around the world. That's a good thing. Any other comments that you would like to make, or
It is time for you.
I think it's time. Okay. Well, thank you very much.